Welcome to a new Unhaul Readathon vlog thing. I'm starting off with another Star Wars book, Light of the Jedi by Charles Schul, and I have very high expectations because what I've read from him is his Darth Vader comic book. It was very, very good. It was like really good character work. And then he did like a Kylo Ren one-off that I liked a little less, but I thought it was still pretty good. He's, as far as I know, pretty liked by a lot of the Star Wars fans that I associate with. And he's doing an adult Star Wars book. I didn't love the young adult ones, obviously. I only read one of them. And I got 10% into the second one. But these ones are adult books, this little trilogy. So I'm hoping that I'm going to like them better, because it might just be a little less kind of immature, a little less young. I might have some brutal stuff in it. My expectations are very high, so I'm kind of nervous, but I'm going to start tonight, see how far I get. I'm hoping I like these and I want to keep them. I kind of have no idea how it's going to go here, so I'm crossing my fingers. So we're going to do a little change of plans because things went poorly. And I'm not going to pretend to be surprised. Honestly, I kind of knew how this was going to go the first chapter into this book. The tone in which it was set made it clear this was going to be a very action-y thing. And I think that's my issue with a lot of these Star Wars books, is that 9 out of 10 of them are just strictly action-based, and there's so little character work. The Star Wars book that I enjoyed the most so far is the Lost Stars book by Claudia Gray. That feels like a real book because the characters feel like people. These Star Wars books, the characters are just stand-ins for action scenes, basically. I can't tell you anything about the characters' personalities because they're all the same character, just action man or woman. And it makes the stories really boring because the best stuff about Star Wars has never been the action, at least for me. So I got 25% in before I gave up on Light of the Jedi. I was looking 25%. And at that point, I was like, I just don't want to keep going. It's like a almost 400 page book. I got about 100 pages in. And at some point, I just wanted to spare myself having to read the rest of a book I didn't like, just to read 2 more books about the same kind of thing. And then part of the issue is I was so deeply bored by this book that I couldn't really follow what was going on. I wasn't doing anything else either. I wasn't playing games on my phone. I wasn't cleaning. I was just listening to this book, and I still couldn't follow it. That's a real problem. It's very complicated because there's just a million things going on. So I can't give a great description of the plot other than something blew up. Something tears hyperspace ship into pieces. And that's what this is about. And then it's the fallout in these last 2. And I just, frankly, I don't care. I have a lot of books I need to get through on this TBR. So collectively, each one of these is about 12 hours. That would have been just a long time of my life to dedicate to something I already knew I didn't like. So DNFing at 25% and not reading these other 2. That being said, I didn't want to give up on Star Wars just yet. And we'll get to that in a minute. But I bounced over to Star Wars Resistance Reborn by Rebecca Roanhorse. I've never heard of that author before. I think this is her first Star Wars book, as far as I know. As you can see on the cover, there's a big Poe on here, insinuating the book is mostly about Poe. And now I'm only about 70% into it, but I would say that's not true. Also, there's Leia and Rey that are the same size. There's a bit with Leia in it, but I wouldn't say it's her book, and definitely not Rey. Rey has barely made an appearance. Finn's on here too, barely made an appearance. Rose Tico is in it just as much as Finn, but she's not on this cover because people don't like Rose Tico because of, you know why. You know why people are weird about Rose Tico. I like her just fine. But yeah, so I started this book. Obviously, I'm doing better with this one than with Light of the Jedi. The plot of this one is incredibly simple. It takes place right after Last Jedi and before Rise of Skywalker. it says right on the cover, Journey to Rise of Skywalker, because in between movies when they had books come out, it would say Journey to, and then the next movie. And also there's a timeline in here which tells you exactly where it goes. The plot of this is literally just trying to find allies. That's the only thing that's happening in this book. They're desperate to find allies because at the end of Last Jedi, they sent out a signal to try and find people to help, and there was no one. They retconned that in Rise of Skywalker because they retconned a bunch of things. But I like that Rose Tico's in this. Like, she's got dialogue, unlike in Rise of Skywalker. And they do walk back on the Rose Tico Finn romance for some reason. But they walked it back in Rise of Skywalker, and they had the exact same dialogue in this one of like, we're just friends, actually. We kissed, but it doesn't even matter. And then it felt like they were trying to insinuate that Finn and Rey had a thing. And then he's like, no, I'm just friends with her too. So, yeah, and then there's no romantic tension or flirty stuff between Poe and Finn, which is unfortunate because that was my ship that I wanted to sail the most out of everything. And then late game, I ended up being a Reylo. But for most of it, I just really wanted Poe and Finn to be together. I would have taken Poe and Finn over Rey and Kylo Ren. But unfortunately, Disney is cowardly. The issue with this book, I'm so bored. I don't like it. I am not surprised because since it takes place between the movies, its only job is to kind of be filler. And I don't really know who buys these books and reads them and enjoys them. And I'm saying that as a person who has a lot of them. I got them because I liked having the Star Wars books. I didn't really read a lot of them. So I'm curious as to how big the audience is of people who are buying all these books. And once again, I'm proved wrong in my theory that I thought I would like one of these books if it had like the characters I know in it. I'm still bored. It's still like no character work at all because it has to be saved for the movie. So this is the filleriest book I have ever read because nothing big can happen in it because it would have to be talked about in Rise of Skywalker. And instead of actually setting up Rise of Skywalker, it's just twiddling their thumbs for 400, 350 pages. So I'm not going to keep this one either. It's going in the unhaul pile. All 4 of these books are being added to the unhaul pile, and that's just the way it is. Am I happy about that? Well, that's complicated because my shelves were getting pretty full, and thinning them out to only my favorites has actually been kind of nice. I like it. So it's kind of always a weight off my shoulders when I get rid of books, which is sad because I used to really love having a lot of them. But, you know, they take up a lot of room. Moving on. This is no longer a Star Wars readathon. Moving on. This is no longer a Star Wars readathon vlog because I'm going to finish this book and probably do another clip about it just to wrap it up. The next book I'm going to read is not actually going to be Star Wars. I'm pivoting over because my library books are about to expire. I picked up Neon Gods by Katie Robert. She has this series. I initially thought it was Greek mythology. The first one I thought was, it's Persephone and Hades, and it is. But it's not really Greek mythology, which threw me off. Me and Sarah talked about it. I don't know if that video is going up before this one. But, yeah, so I initially thought it was going to be Greek mythology, and I was like, oh, cool. That's fun. But then I started it. It's more mafia feeling to me. I'm going to try and explain this as best as possible, but honestly, I'm like really confused by it. There's the 13, which are the Olympians, and I think they actually call them the Olympians in the book. I don't think there's magic. I think there's none, but it's really confusing, so I don't know yet. I'm only like 15% in. I'm trying to keep up with it as best I can, but there's elements from Greek mythology that the author keeps, but a lot she changes. So Persephone is no longer Hades' daughter. She's still Demeter's daughter, but Persephone's sister is like Psyche, who is Eros or Cupid's wife, and there's 2 other ones that are her sister. And then Hades and Zeus are no longer brothers, as far as I can tell. They haven't mentioned it at all. Hades was like a former, I think, member of the 13, but he was like kicked out or something, and they think he's dead. Like that. And to me, it's coming off like, I think that their names for the 13 are titles. because Hermes popped up. Hermes is a girl, and Hades makes some comment about how she like just became a Hermes, and Zeus's former wives are called Heras, so it's like a little hard to keep up with. I am enjoying it though. I just I don't like that it's not really Greek mythology. That bums me out, but she's like following some things, like Persephone has to wait a certain amount of time for her freedom and stuff like that. But the thing is, when you're doing something like Greek mythology, you do it and it's like, oh, people know for the most part the established things, like the parentage, the basic story, etc. But the author is cherry picking what she's using. Therefore, you go in not knowing anything in a very confusing way. It's like you hear the names Demeter and Persephone and Zeus, and you know that they're the parents of Persephone, but that's not how it works in the book, because Zeus forces an engagement on Persephone, like he's forcing her to marry him. So it's like, oh, okay. And then you think, oh, Hades and Zeus are siblings, and then they're not. So it's like, it's just throwing me off a little bit, because there's not the comfort of, like, it's this big complicated world, obviously, with a lot of things in it. And there's no advantage here because she has cherry picked what she wants to keep. So you can't even be like, okay, so I vaguely understand what's going on here because I know what the dynamic is supposed to be. She's changing so much that you can't lean on that. So it's really just kind of a big confusing mess for me. And maybe I'm just stupid. Like, I accept that that's a possibility. I just guess I would have preferred that she had kept with more of the established stuff, because it's like, kind of why bother doing their names if you're not going to follow along with any of the set up lore. I understand you want to play with it, and like doing it in a modern setting with like cell phones and cars is fine, but I am not a huge fan of having to figure out what the dynamics are, because she's not saying everything immediately necessarily, and there's so much to know. And you don't even get to be like going in like, oh, okay, so I know she's like going to be trapped for a few months because of this, and her mom's really mad and Zeus is mad. It's like, there's nothing like that. You just have to go in completely blind, like it's a normal book. But then there's the element of confusion on top of it, because you think you know, but then you don't. All this to say, I am enjoying it. It's kind of fun. The plot so far is, so Persephone's like a socialite. They get a lot of attention from the paparazzi and stuff like that. And she has to get to her 25th birthday, because if she gets her 25th birthday, she gets her inheritance and she can take off. But Zeus has decided he wants to marry her, and her mother is more than happy to sell her off to him, basically, because it'll like more thoroughly ensure her place in the 13. Persephone doesn't want this, obviously, because she didn't choose him, and his last 3 wives are dead, and the theory is that he killed them. So she takes off, and his goons chase her, and she gets to the river Styx, which I think is just a river that cuts off like property lines of like my territory. She crosses it and she ends up in Hades' territory, and Hades is like, I guess I'm gonna keep you or whatever, to upset Zeus. And that's around where I left off. There's 10 books total in this series, I believe. I think 2 of them aren't out yet, but I have the list of like all the couples and stuff, and I'm intrigued. I'm just a little confused, and I don't love being confused, but I'm for sure going to finish that one. And if I like it, I'm going to go on to the other books in the series. But so far, so good. It's the only book in this vlog that I have enjoyed so far. So at least I might end on a bit of a positive note. I do have to finish this Star Wars one because I have other Star Wars. I have a lot of things in my library that are about to expire. But yeah, I'm going to hop back into Star Wars and let you know how it ends. And I'm done. Wah wah. Pretty boring end. Just a big fight to free some political prisoners. The other problem with this is, like, the person writing this obviously didn't know what was going to be in Rise of Skywalker. That kind of information is super top secret, so she couldn't really do set up. It's not her fault. But, like, we went from Last Jedi, and one of the last things that happens in that is Rey meets Poe. Then you get to Rise of Skywalker, and they hate each other for some reason. Like, they have a lot of animosity, and I thought, oh, maybe it'll set that up. But then I didn't think, oh, the author probably didn't know that they were going to do that. They didn't really know they were going to do anything. But then again, she knew Rose and Finn weren't going to be a couple, so there must have been a couple things that were like, okay, put this in there, just, like, establish it. But, yeah, nothing at all showing any animosity between Poe and Rey. None at all. I thought that was weird, because I thought when they didn't like each other, Rise of Skywalker didn't make any sense. But whatever. Just not very entertaining. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for anyone. Just a pretty nothing story. I gave it 2 stars because it was perfectly competent. Like, no fault to the author. Just she didn't have interesting things she could do because it had to not affect the next movie. So whatever, but I'm going to go back into Neon Gods and hopefully get another good chunk in before I have to go to bed tonight. I have a little while left, and I'm going to clean my room a little bit while I listen. So I hope it continues to be fun. Okay, I'm about 55% into Neon Gods. I have a better grasp of the situation. I don't think there's any magic, and I'm 99% sure. But, okay, so the premise I told you, Zeus was trying to force Persephone to marry him. She went over to Hades, and Hades hates Zeus because Zeus killed his parents when he was young. So he wants revenge on Zeus, and he wants to make him mad. So he's like, okay, Persephone, I'll help you. But we have to, like, have sex in public so that we make him feel bad and shame him. And she's like, hell yeah, I super want to bone down with you, so we'll do that. And then they did do that at the exact 50% mark. So everyone found out. Zeus is super mad. So, like, the best part of the whole book, so they have sex, okay? It's the next morning, and Hermes is like, they want to do a meeting with everybody. And I kid you not, they do a Zoom meeting with, they're not gods, but, like, all 13, or I guess 12 Olympians on a Zoom meeting about Persephone and Hades having sex at a party in front of a bunch of people. And it's the idea of that is so deeply funny to me. I don't know if it was funny on purpose. I like to think it was. This is not a very funny book. I haven't laughed. The only stuff that's made me laugh is that it's kind of like corny. Hades is, like, very serious. It's like, it's so, there's a lot of vibrato. I'm having a hard time expressing how corny it is. It's a lot of Hades just, like, way serious, and it's goofy and corny, but it's fun enough, so I'm having an alright time. And we found out Eurydice is one of Persephone's sisters, so it's Psyche, Eurydice, and I think there's one more. I don't know who she mentioned, but yeah, I mean, if it maintains this, I'll keep reading the books, at least until I get bored. I am still disappointed it's not true Greek mythology, and I kind of wish it was, like, funnier, and that's kind of all I have to say about it so far. I still have, like, half the book left, so there's a lot more to uncover, but I'm gonna probably go to bed and start again tomorrow. Finish Neon Gods. I debated what rating to give it because I have mixed feelings. I give it a 2.5, closer to 3 than 2, just because I didn't feel very strongly about it. That's kind of my only issue. So I'm going to continue with the series. I don't remember who the next book is about. I think it's possibly Eurydice, but nothing crazy happened in the end. It was just a little confrontation because Hades technically broke whatever treaty he had with the 13, and the 13 were like, or 12 of the 13 were like, hey, we don't like Zeus. If you want to kill him, we'd be chill with that. So, spoilers, he killed Zeus, and I think technically now Hades is part of the 13. He got brought in, and they replaced Zeus with Perseus, because yeah, this is just titles. The names are titles. So I guess the book in the future that is Zeus and Hera is going to be Perseus and someone. We'll see when the time comes. But yeah, the epilogue was Hades and Persephone having sex in public. And that's fine. If you're into that, that's fine. I didn't think much of it one way or the other, but it was an okay book. So this is going to be a weird one because I just read Star Wars and one book that was not related to Star Wars. And it's going to make the video super short. But I guess I am ending on a somewhat positive note because I didn't mind the Neon Gods. I guess I wish it was like maybe a little shorter. There was a lot of sex scenes and they were all like full scenes. It wasn't really fade to black or anything. It was just full scenes, multiple, maybe 6 or more. I didn't count, but I don't love that it's causing it to stretch out. And I thought about doing this next book as part of this one, but it's really long and I'm not going to finish it in time. But I'm reading the Ruby Dixon book. I don't know what it's called. It's her full-length novel, the one that's got like a Minotaur romance. It's 18 hours long. It's so long. It's just insanely long, but it's a Marriage of Convenience. So it's Marriage of Convenience and Minotaur. You'd think, oh, that's the funnest book in the world. It's not, and you're gonna hear me talk about it in a different video, but not this one. Thank you for watching. Sorry that the content in this one was scarce, but I just didn't have a lot to say. So instead of stretching it out, I'm just gonna end it here. Join me next time as I continue to suffer through more Star Wars books.